Once upon a time, in the beautiful country of Greece, there lived a young man named Orpheus. He was not like any other man in Greece, for he possessed a special gift. He was an amazing musician and poet. His music had the power to calm even the fiercest creatures, make trees sway with joy, and even move the powerful gods themselves. But amidst all his fame and admiration, Orpheus's heart belonged to only one person, his dear wife, Eurydice. She was the love of his life, and no words could ever describe the depth of their love for each other. They lived happily together in a small village at the edge of a forest. Every day, Orpheus would wander into the woods, playing his lyre and singing songs about their love. The animals would gather around him, entranced by his melodies, while Eurydice watched from afar with a smile on her face. But one fateful day, as Eurydice twirled and laughed with her nymph friends in the fields, tragedy struck. Out of nowhere, a venomous serpent slithered out from the tall grass and bit Eurydice with its deadly fangs. The poison spread quickly through her body, and despite Orpheus's desperate attempts to save her, Eurydice slipped away from him forever. Filled with overwhelming sorrow and unable to find solace, Orpheus was consumed by the thought of a life without his beloved wife. In a moment of desperation, he made a courageous decision to journey to the underworld, the realm of the dead, in search of Eurydice. As Orpheus descended into the dark depths of the underworld, his lyre held tightly in hand, he could feel a chill in the air and hear the faint whispers of the souls that inhabited this place. The gates loomed before him, ominous and foreboding, but he pressed on, determined to save his beloved Eurydice. Passing through the shadowy gates, Orpheus braved the eerie silence of the underworld. The darkness seemed to swallow him whole as he made his way through its endless corridors and cavernous halls. But with each step, he played his lyre, filling the air with haunting melodies that stirred the hearts of the departed and even softened the hearts of the fearsome guardians who stood watch over this realm. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Orpheus reached the throne room of Hades and Persephone, rulers of the underworld. With tears in his eyes and the strains of his lyre still echoing through the room, he pleaded with them to allow Eurydice to return to the world above. He spoke of their love for each other and how her death had left a gaping hole in his heart. As he finished his plea, a hushed silence fell over the throne room. All eyes were on Hades and Persephone as they deliberated Orpheus's request. For what felt like an eternity, no one spoke or moved. And then suddenly, Persephone's face softened, and she turned to her husband with a look of compassion in her eyes. After much discussion between Hades and Persephone, they finally came to a decision. Eurydice would be allowed to return to the land of the living with Orpheus, but only under one condition. He must not turn back to look at her until they both reached the surface. Excitement and happiness bubbled in Orpheus's chest as he embarked on his journey, with Eurydice trailing behind him. The trek back to the world above was daunting, filled with shadows and dangers lurking around every corner. But Orpheus pushed forward, his ears attuned to the faint sound of Eurydice's footsteps, echoing behind him. As they drew closer to the entrance of the underworld, beams of sunlight began to pierce through the darkness, instilling a glimmer of hope in Orpheus's heart. However, doubts started to seep into his mind. What if Hades had tricked him and Eurydice wasn't really following? Unable to resist any longer, Orpheus turned around to catch a glimpse of Eurydice's face, hoping to find reassurance in her presence. In that heartbreaking moment, their eyes met, and Eurydice vanished from sight, pulled back into the shadows of the underworld. She called out to Orpheus, her voice filled with love and sorrow. But it was too late. The conditions had been broken, and she was lost to him once more. The rule of not looking back was a test of Orpheus's faith and devotion. It symbolized the idea that true love requires trust, patience, and unwavering commitment. Orpheus, overcome by his overwhelming desire to be reunited with Eurydice, succumbs to his doubts and loses her a second time. After losing his beloved wife Eurydice, Orpheus was consumed by overwhelming feelings of sadness and pain. He roamed the earth in a constant state of mourning, his once beautiful music now transformed into sorrowful laments for his lost love. The once charismatic musician now shunned the company of others and longed for death to reunite with Eurydice in the underworld. But fate had other plans for Orpheus. His despairing songs caught the attention of the Maenads, wild followers of the god Dionysus, who were known for their unpredictable and frenzied behavior. Maenads became enamored with Orpheus and desired him for themselves. However, Orpheus, still grieving for his lost wife and devoted only to her memory, rejected their advances. This rejection angered the Maenads, who saw it as a personal offense against their goddess Dionysus. In their chaotic state, they were consumed by intense jealousy and rage, vowing to teach Orpheus a lesson for his audacity. They plotted and schemed in their frenzied states, coming up with ways to punish Orpheus for his insolence. They would make him pay for rejecting them and dishonoring their beloved deity. Little did Orpheus know the wrath that was about to be unleashed upon him by these wild and irrational women. On a peaceful day, Orpheus sat by the gentle riverbank, strumming his lyre, and lost in the enchanting melodies that flowed from it. But suddenly, a group of frenzied Maenads appeared like a storm, their faces twisted with rage and jealousy. In their mad frenzy, they pounced upon Orpheus, tearing him apart limb by limb as if he were nothing more than a mere animal. The once serene scene was now filled with screams and cries of terror as the Maenads unleashed their unbridled fury upon Orpheus, silencing forever the haunting melodies that had made him the greatest musician in all of Greece. The story of Orpheus and Eurydice continues to stand the test of time as a touching example of the strength of love, the depths of sorrow, and the fragility of human life. Their tale speaks to a connection that surpasses even death, showing how true love can endure against all odds.